sunshine too across a good part of North Africa, but we have got some sharp showers just around the eastern side of the Mediterranean. That could cause a few problems. Just around northeastern parts of Libya, maybe even into northern areas of Egypt. You could see some rather wet and windy weather here over the next day or so, and certainly some choppy waters across that eastern side of the Med. Cairo cooler than it has been recently, 23 Celsius. Cooler than it has been recently too into that southeastern corner of Europe. Only 6 Celsius there for Athens, 10 degrees below the seasonal average that represents. We're looking at wintry weather too. Quite a bit of it, 50 centimetres or so of snow over the higher ground of the Turkish mountains. For central areas of Europe, it's fine and dry, but wet and windy for Portugal.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Rhythms of resistance.
A part of the struggle and popular resistance is art. Through my art, I resist. Resistance is my art, and my art is my war.
Musicians using music as a way to maintain their cultural identity.
I believe that when I sing to the world, I portray Palestine through my voice, my singing, and my songs.
Songs from the lost homeland. At this time, on Al Jazeera.
See the world from every angle and every side. Al Jazeera.
Hello again, welcome back. You're with Al Jazeera. Let's remind you of the top story now. Pro-government forces have been bombarding rebel groups in the Libyan oil town of Ras Lanuf, part of the fight back by Libya's leader. This was seen a short time ago as rebel fighters came under attack from the air. Meanwhile, leaders of the Libyan uprising have made it clear they'll only begin talks about the future of the country if Muammar Gaddafi quits. A former prime minister has been appearing on state television urging opposition forces to negotiate. And Gaddafi himself is still sounding defiant. He appeared on a French news channel claiming no more than 100 rebels have been killed. He also warned Europe that Libya stops millions of migrants from landing on its shores. Let's hear from Al Jazeera's Tony Bertley now. He's back in the eastern town of Brega after going to the scene of fighting in Ras Lanuf.
It's quite tense around here at the moment because the advance that has gone so quickly has come to a bit of a halt at Bin Jawad. Now, they had taken that town according to the opposition forces, and now they're being forced out. They're claiming that Gaddafi forces are using women and children there, civilians, as a human shield. That can't be independently confirmed, but it's halting their advance. They're now working out a strategy to go around it. But anyone who knows this situation is a bit confused. They've made great strides and great advances in a very short space of time, and Gaddafi forces have simply withdrawn from the area. They've drawn a line in the sand at Bin Jawad, and we're asking the question why. 180 kilometres down the road, you've got Sirte. That's a very well fortified area. It's a Gaddafi stronghold, something like 4,000 men with high-tech weaponry, we understand. Now, military experts who know the situation are asking when that weaponry, not if, when that weaponry will be brought into use.
Egypt's interim prime minister is due to address the nation very shortly. Essam Sharaf is also expected to swear in a caretaker cabinet. On Sunday, hundreds of protesters gathered in front of the state security headquarters in Cairo, demanding entry to gather documents. Egyptians have been trying to get evidence of abuses committed by security forces under the ousted President Hosni Mubarak. The leader of the Iraqi coalition in Iraq has told Al Jazeera that power sharing there is a myth. Ayad Alawi's comments come as protests grip the country 1 year after parliamentary elections. Mr. Alawi was offered the position as head of the new Security Council in a move to promote inclusiveness, but he turned it down. Rao Uragi asked him why.
Well, let me tell you, there is no power sharing. The power sharing is something that is fake. It's not true. Nothing is happening because the 9 agreements have not been fulfilled, including this National Council. I thought it's not worth it since there is no trust anymore, and there is no willingness to go into the power sharing area in a constructive way. I thought it is worthless to be part of the setup.
Dr. Alawi, it's been exactly 1 year today since the parliamentary elections. It took months to form a government, one that still does not have a Minister of Interior or Defense. What is your assessment of the political process in Iraq over the past year and the performance of Iraqi politicians?
This is why I say we don't have really a democratic process. And it's a big lie if we say that we do have a democratic. We don't. And we have a political process, yes. We have a political process which is not inclusive. And we in Iraq, we want this political process to be inclusive.
What do you think of the protests across Iraq in the past few weeks, and how do you think that will affect Noor al-Maliki's government?
It's a reflection of the failure of the political groups and addressing the issues that the Iraqi people need them to be addressed, and including ourselves. We failed really in responding to the demands and desires of the Iraqi people, and we failed miserably, all of us, in getting the country moving forward. Sectarianism, politicizing religion, unemployment, no services. The third of the Iraqi people are living under the poverty line. That's why, because of this failure, and because of the failure of the government, and because of the failure of Mr. Maliki, we see the people have gone to the streets.
US Defense Secretary Robert Gates says some American troops may need to stay in Afghanistan after the end of the mission in 2014. He's visiting the country to finalize withdrawal plans. Washington says there's been a lot of progress in training Afghan forces to take long-term control of security, but many civilians still live in fear of the Taliban. Sue Turton reports.
Driving down Highway 1 in what many Americans call the heart of darkness. The Taliban was born in the district of Jirai, west of Kandahar city. It's here that some of those extra 30,000 US troops were sent to stop its momentum.
When we moved into this area, it was completely under Taliban control.
When the 1st Squadron 75th Cavalry Regiment arrived here last summer, the whole area south of Fob Wilson was Taliban territory. But over the winter, they've made the major roads more secure and set up small outposts dotted across this hostile terrain, including Pashmel south and Sablagay to the southeast.
You have to set a permanent presence to show that the people that you're going to stay, because the people here are still fence-sitting.
And out on patrol from the Sablagay outpost, people are clearly nervous about speaking out.
Is there anything else you would like to tell me about the Taliban?
Don't ask us these kinds of questions. It will bring trouble for us in the future. We cannot be against you. We cannot be against the Taliban. You make trouble for me in the future.
If we talk about Taliban, they'll cut our hair and slit our throats.
Well, that's why US soldiers and Afghan soldiers are here. We're trying to protect you from the Taliban.
You leave now, you go back to your base, and then they come.
In this area, there are Taliban. You're in this village, they're in that village. You go to that village, they go to the next one.
At Pashmel South the next day, a Taliban attack on a patrol just 500 metres from the base. Air support is called in. The Afghan